Hello, my name is Dr. MarkAlain Dery, and I am the Medical Director of Infectious Diseases and Chief Innovation Officer for Access Health Louisiana, the largest Medicaid providing clinic system in Louisiana, and I'm also the co-chair of the ACOI Infectious Diseases Subspecialty Section. Along with the leadership of the ACOI, we want to thank all of you for all that you are doing as we face this unprecedented time in medicine fighting the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Moving forward, in conjunction with the ACOI, we want to share with you some of the information as it becomes available, as well as some of the bright spots that we're seeing so that we all can feel some hope in these trying times. So our first story today is essentially to talk about modulating the immune system and what this is about. So one question that I hear a lot is why is COVID-19 making some people sicker than others? And I don't mean obviously the likely reasons like those that have chronic conditions or those predisposed with other issues or those that may even be immune compromised. I mean those who are seemingly perfectly healthy individuals that may be in their 30s or their 40s or even maybe younger. Why is their disease process more severe and why are their outcomes more critical? So, as with any disease, genetics obviously plays a certain role in how people handle them. But with this COVID-19 virus, there's a lot of inconsistency. So actually what we're finding out is that there's a large degree of uncertainty of how individuals fight the disease has pretty much less to do with than actually the virus itself than how our bodies actually respond to it. So as physicians, when we see variation in disease severity, we begin to suspect not necessarily the etiology, in this case the virus, but the host. So this is one puzzler because as it begins to spread out throughout the body for days or for weeks in a sort of stealth mode, and as it does so, it can take a week or two for our bodies to completely recognize the extent to which it has been overwhelmed. And that's the point when the immune system can go into a super hyperactive state, and that's what may account for some of the more rapid declines, kind of an immune system overdrive. The condition, unfortunately, tends to be dire, and that's why patients end up in the intensive care unit for 20 days instead of the normal stay, which is roughly about 3.3 on national average. So this becomes a highly fatal immune system process that we recognize as what we commonly refer to now as a cytokine storm. What happens is that the immune system floods the body with these molecules, mostly interleukins. It is often likened to a fire alarm that continues even after the firefighters and ambulances have arrived. This is when our priorities shift from actually fighting the virus to fighting the immune response so that it doesn't end up killing the person or causing permanent organ damage. Last week when I talked about the IDSA guidelines as well as the NIH guidelines, and that for the time being immune modulators that may be utilized to dampen the immune system, these are only recommended at this time in the setting of a clinical trial, but this just is something that I wanted to bring to folks' attention. So what's the big topic now? Are antibodies. So let's talk about antibodies. It seems like no matter where I go or who I talk to, the conversation invariably turns toward antibody testing. After all, the country seems to be hanging on these tests to help determine when we are actually going to be reopening society. So for the past few weeks, more than 50 scientists have been working diligently to verify that 14 coronavirus antibody tests. And again, that's 14 out of nearly 100 or so that are now on the market actually deliver accurate results. You'll find the reference to this particular study below. But unfortunately, the news is not good about these tests. About 14 of these tests, of these 14 tests, only 3 delivered consistently reliable results. And again, like any other fast-moving information we've been getting about this virus in particular, the research right now isn't peer-reviewed. Of course, it's always evolving, but the results thus far are raising some questions. For one, there are wide variations in the numbers that are being reported. For example, in New York City, this week we found out there were about 21% of those that reported positive had antibodies to the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but other places like in California, Santa Clara County, and in Los Angeles County, it was low. It was maybe closer from 3 to 5%. So false positives are also a scary thing in that it can give people some false hope that they have immunity when in reality they don't. And these tests are also hoping to be developed for home use, but until we can be more certain of the results, we can't with confidence determine who has the virus or who had exposure to the virus and who did not. So in short, until we can determine with greater certainty that positive antibody tests are positive for the SARS-CoV-2 virus, as opposed to cross-reacting with other circulating coronaviruses, I would hold off on recommending antibody tests for this time. However, if somebody comes to you and they did have an antibody test, I would recognize that negatives are more useful than positives. A negative antibody test at least will tell you that there's been no recent exposure to any coronaviruses, the circulating coronaviruses, or the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Whereas a positive would possibly tell you that there may have been an exposure to other circulating coronaviruses or the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And at this time, again, we can't make that determination. And again, one last time, negatives are important because at least it'll give you the determination that there was no exposure to any coronaviruses. And at this time, I again recommend holding off. So again, in our last segment here, we do have some good news, and that's leveling the COVID playing field with respect to treatment equity. So too often we see diseases disproportionately affecting those with the least amount of resources, and this is especially true in resource-poor countries. Africa, of course, is a continent with a lot of resource-poor countries, and projections are roughly for the continent of Africa to be about 300,000 deaths from the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And that's the best case scenario. The worst case paints a grimmer picture with approximately 3.3 million deaths and 1.2 billion infections. So why are resource-poor countries more at risk? Well, according to the UN report that's just out and attached below, the link is below, the answer involves all the usual things, of course, poverty, crowded urban conditions, and widespread health problems. And to put some more numbers around this, collectively, Africa just received a shipment of 400 ventilators. But of course, keep in mind that this needs to be shared amongst all 54 African countries. So that's why I'm in awe of what the World Health Organization is looking to do right now. They are leading the charge along with many other countries, industry groups, and NGOs to help produce new drugs, vaccine, and tests for this virus to help ensure that Africa and the whole world has equal access to the most important tools for this fight. This is being called Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator Project. It's designed to level the playing field against the fight. All of this is just starting, and next week on May 4th, countries and organizations are encouraged to start pledging contributions with an eye toward commitments worth about $8 billion in initial funding. Lots of countries are involved, and I hope that they can be successful. There are too many injustices, and everyone has the right to be healthy and have everything that they need to stay healthy. Just as a reminder, you can learn about everything that I've discussed on the ACOI webpage, where you'll find these videos, and you'll find the links to the articles that I've sourced below. So, in conclusion, please stay on the lookout for our regular updates. And to read more from the sources used in this report, you can go to acoi.org/COVID-19. Together with the ACOI, we will help you have the latest information to help you respond to your patients and stay on top of this crisis. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime at madery@mac.com. Please stay safe. We can do this together.